All right, we are at the homeowner. We are under the deck, which is about 7-8 feet tall. Tried to use some foam to keep the bees from coming in and out or block them from going in, it looks like. And I'm gonna have to get up under there and see where they're going in at, because really the only option they have is under brick. So that would be crazy. But anyway, we'll check it and see where they're going. All right, so yesterday when we went by the house with the Trapout, if you remember, we found where the bees are actually going in up under the deck, and they were coming out on the top side of the deck. And the first part of this video, you could see where they were going in below and coming out a hole at the top. So obviously they were back within the house, of the walls of the house somewhere back in there. So, and you also noticed that the homeowner had taken some spray insulation to try to fill those holes up. But he left some gaps, and that's how bees got in there to start a hive. So the main thing that we got to do, and the first thing we have to do, is make sure there's only one way in and one way out. And the way that we're going to fill those gaps is using furnace filters. So you can just get this at Lowe's or Home Depot. It's really cheap, plastic type furnace filter, just basic stuff. We're going to use that to stuff the hole up underneath the deck, and I'll show you how we're going to do that this afternoon when we go back over there. And then that will only leave the hole on the top side where they were going in and out above the deck there, and that's where we'll put our trap and our cone trap, in that location. All right, so there's a couple things that are really important to think about if you're going to do a trap out of a house or out of any other kind of structure. The first is, what time of year is it? Is it early in the spring, or is it late in the summer, late in the fall? If it's late in the summer or the fall, you're going to have to feed those bees once you get once they're trapped, and once you have those and start a new hive, you're going to have to feed those over the winter, because they're not going to have enough time in the fall to build up honey stores for themselves. So if you can find a trap out and do it in the spring, that's really the best time to do it. It gives them the whole summer to build their hive up, and also to build up honey stores as well. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, they will likely not have a queen. When you get them out of that structure or that house, the queen almost never comes out with the rest of the bees. She will stay in there and just die in there eventually. So that means that you're gonna have a queenless hive. And you have to think about that in two different ways. One, you can either introduce a new queen from a cage into your new hive, or you can introduce a frame that has brood and obviously has eggs, larvae in here, which is what we're going to do as well in this case. But make sure that there are eggs in there, and the bees that are here will realize that they're queenless. They will build some emergency queen cells and develop their own queen. And that's actually what we're going to do in this case. Okay, so when we get back over there to the house this afternoon where we're going to do the trap out, this is what I'll be putting there to capture the bees and hopefully start a new hive. So what I have here is just a basic brood box. Obviously I have the top cover, the inner cover, and I already have some frames in here. So what I have in the middle, as you can see, these are all drawn comb already. So the bees, and some pollen, as you can see in here as well. So they can start on that, gives them something good to start with. And all of these frames in the middle actually have honey in there as well. So these came from another hive that we have in our bee yard. On the outside, these frames on the outside actually have a little bit of drawn comb, but for the most part, they are it's new foundation in those frames on the outside. So they'll start drawing that foundation out as well. So what I've done here is actually leave a place in the middle. I'll actually go to one of our other hives. I'll pull a frame out that is full of eggs and larvae, and put that in the middle here. And so the nurse bees will start taking care of those. They'll build emergency queen cells, and then they'll use those eggs to build a new queen for their hive. So I'm not going to do that until we leave this afternoon, right before we leave, and I'll put that in here as well, and try to keep that warm as we go over to the site. The other thing that's really important as an attractant for the bees as they come out of the trap, I use lemongrass oil. So essential oil, lemongrass oil. I actually sprinkle a little bit of that on each one of those frames, maybe a couple drops on each side of each frame, and also at the entrance This is a really good attractant for bees. So as they come out, they will notice that there's a frame. As they come out of the trap, they will notice that there's a frame that has eggs in it, and they will immediately gravitate toward that. The lemongrass oil will actually help that process and help them to get into this box faster. Okay, here's the situation again. This is underneath the deck. As you can see, I took the first deck board off. Let me zoom in here. You can see where the homeowner has put in some of the spray insulation. Looks like they are landing here, walking up, and going behind right in there into a hole in the wall, do whatever they're doing with their hive in there, and then they come out on the top side of the deck, which we showed you earlier. So I'm going to have to stuff this hole and probably stuff all the way down in here so they can't go up from underneath behind the wood as well. But you can see there's a lot of activity out here today. Okay, now we're on the top side of the deck. So if you remember, we looked from up under below there. There's that post that had all the insulation on it below. We have the first deck board off, and as you can see, they're coming up through a hole in the spray-on insulation. That's where they're coming out. All right, so we're going to patch this up, put a piece of wood there, put our trap over that hole there. All right, so what I've basically done is I've cut a 2x6 to bring the floor level up even with the hole there where they're coming out, and I will line it with the furnace filters you see here. So I'll show you that once we get that in place. Okay, what I've basically done is taken that furnace filter, lined it along there so that when I put this board in there, they cannot get under it and come out the other side like they're doing right now. Okay, so that's what we'll do next. So as you can see, I have placed a board here that will level up the floor and the brick so that my trap will fit flush over that hole there. And then I'll take some more of the furnace filter and press it in those cracks there. Okay, now that the board is up there, I've got it even with the brick, I'm going to go ahead and take my lemongrass oil, and I'm going to put a couple drops on each of these frames within here, and I'm also going to put a couple drops along the entrance here to get them to start going in, and then later today I'll bring over a frame with eggs to put in there as well. So we'll get this set up next, and then we'll go below the deck to block off their entrance into the hive. That way there's only one way in and one way out. I have my hive in place. Once they start coming out of the trap that I'm about to put up, they'll start going in here, hopefully. I also have my top feeder, which I'm about to fill with sugar syrup as well to feed the bees as they come out. Okay, on the bottom side, you can see I have already started blocking below the main hole, which is right there. That's where they're going in, as you can see. So I've blocked the access from here as well as here on the other side of the post. Now I need to go up there and block the main hole, and when that happens, that's when the games begin. I'll go up and put the trap on the top side, and they'll start going a little crazy. Okay, now as you can see, the trap is down. I've covered up any holes there. You can see they're starting to come up through the cone. When they come out, they won't go back in that way. That's why it's called a trap out. So as you can see, they are working their way out of the top of the cone. So that's all good. Okay, I think I have stopped the hole up. As you can see, stuffed everything in there, and you're starting to see the traffic jam, starting to see traffic back up down below here. So I'm hoping that they go up through this hole here. The new hive is sitting, or the new hive box is sitting right there. So I'm hoping at some point they will start giving up, trying to get in the hole here and go up top, and we'll see what happens. Okay, we've given it 10-15 minutes, and Basically right now what I'm doing is trying to see if they're finding another way in. I have already found one block where they had found another hole to get in. I think they can probably eat through this foam insulation. I don't know if they will or not, but we'll soon find out. But right now, so far so good on them not being able to find another entrance. Leaves them no choice but to go to my new hive that I've set up right above here. Okay, one thing to note here is since they can't get in, looks like they're trying to crawl up and on the top side to get in from the other the other entrance, which is what I have the cone on. So we're going to go up top before we leave here and see what's going on up there. Okay, on the top side you can see there is a lot of traffic here as well, where they're walking up from down below because they can't get in, trying to get in from the top side. Eventually we hope they walk into the box that I have set up. So we're going to let this stay set up here. They continue to come out of the cone, as you can see, and that means they can't come back in. So eventually they're going to have to go somewhere. So we hope they choose my box here. So we're going to leave, go get a frame of eggs from another hive, bring those in, put those in the box, and see what happens. Okay, it's been 3 or 4 hours since I started the trap out. You can see they're still trying to figure out how to get in up top here. Going around the cone, still have several coming out through the cone. And now we're going to check my box, see if there are any in there. And then I'm also going to be adding this frame that has capped brood, larvae, eggs, and some pollen in there as well to attract them even further. Okay, it's been 3 or 4 hours. Like I said, here's what it looks like down below. Looks like they still can't get in. They're trying to find a way to get in. So far, I don't think they've been able to, so they wouldn't be stacked up out here like this. So hopefully it'll work, and I'll put in the frame with eggs and larvae, and we'll see what it looks like tomorrow. All right, that's what we want right there. See that? That's one of the scouts letting the other bees, it's one of the scouts letting the other bees know where their new house is. It's exactly what we want. All right, well, sometimes your best plans don't always work out. So I had this box up top where the cone was, and the bees were really not going in there a whole lot. So I actually moved it down below, left the top open for a little bit. They are really starting to go in there now, and I'll show you that they're turned around backwards with their abdomens up in the air, emitting pheromones to the other bees that there are eggs and larvae, and they're starting to go in the box, and I'll show you that. Okay, here's the top of the box now. As you can see, they're starting to let the other bees know that this is their new home, and they're signaling that to the other bees who are just right here on the wall. So a ton more have already gone in, and it looks like several more are starting to. So this is a good sign. Okay, this is it for the night, and I've got it all set up here. Several have already gone in. There's still quite a few on the post, but there's also quite a few inside the box as well, and underneath. So anyway, change of plans, but this is working much better, getting the bees where they're actually going in instead of where they're coming out. So hopefully they'll get on the frame that have the eggs and larvae, and keep those warm. It's going to be a little chilly tonight, so we'll come check them in the morning.